The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those in the community as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Insights. I am currently sitting here with Dr. Van Wagner of Alpena Public Schools, and we wanted to talk to you today about, some of the upgrade changes and some of the school safety that's coming to Alpena Public Schools. So welcome, Dr. Van Wagner.
Thank you. Really glad to be here. Start out, we've been doing a lot of work over the last month, and a half of meeting with our community. So we've had 14 individual community meetings where any citizen, anybody could come and give us thoughts on what types of upgrades they think we need to be looking at, both security-wise, safety-wise, but also bricks and mortar and roofs, all those kind of things. So we've taken all that information down, and we've even had people email us and call me at the superintendent's office. And so we've taken all that information, and we have formed a citizens group of about 50 to 60 people from all different parts of the county. From every school, elementary school area, parents, grandparents, business owners, general taxpayers, and staff to sit and say, here are the things that we think that the school board should be looking at moving forward. And so we've had our first of those 3 meetings. We'll have a second one November 5th and a third one November 12th. We're hoping to get out of that really a priority list. We know we have lots of need, as the original facility study that was done about 4 years ago recognized about $120 million worth of need of Alpena Public Schools. And we know that that's just not feasible. That's not something that is something that is something we feel we can ask. But we know that there's some level that we need to be able to go to the community and talk about supporting. Mm-hmm. And so we really want this community group to give us that information and give the board a real informed a decision, to be able to take forward on where to go here with our facilities.
Now, me and you were just chatting about some of the upgrades that some of the schools need here. We just had a water leak at Besta Elementary, was it?
We do, and what we have is we have about half of the roofs in our district are way past their warranty period. Like any building, you get a roof on for 25, 30 years. It's just a reality of needing to replace that. And we do not get any money from the state specifically to do anything with our buildings. We get about $7,850 per student. And that really runs our general operations of paying for teachers and bus drivers and buses themselves and heat and electric and all those things to have the school go. And so when we have major facility issues, we have to, go to our community and talk about a bond. Millages are no longer allowed in the state of Michigan since 1994. Proposal A, when it was passed and raised the sales tax, most of the money we get are from sales tax dollars from the state of Michigan, and they are not earmarked in any way for facilities such as, a community college. They have an opportunity to be able to go to the legislature. They need to revamp a building. They're able to do so. They have to still come up with a 50% match, and we're very glad they're able to do that. We don't have that same ability, so we have to have that conversation with our community about what to do forward. So, we're looking at roofs and boilers and windows and just things that are really absolute needs at this point, to not run in emergency situations for buildings such as Ella White, that's our largest elementary school. That boiler is from the early 1980s, and it's well past its life. It's a steam boiler. We spend almost as much on utilities at that building as we do the high school. In fact, it's more than Thunder Bay Junior High, our second largest building of almost 900 kids. That building's almost 500 kids, and the utilities are more. So we've got to do a better job of being able to utilize the dollars we have, and we need to talk about what are those absolute essential basic needs that we need to do of all of the buildings in our district. Every building needs some work to be able to maintain the taxpayers' value and the money they put in it to make sure that those buildings last another 50 years and don't deteriorate, so that our kids are able to enjoy the benefits of a great public school education.
Now, I know some parents and you too, as well as superintendent, were a little bit concerned about like door safety, like opening doors and IDs and stuff like that.
Yeah, one of the big issues that we're facing with our schools is the need to look at safety and security. Our parents send their most precious commodity that they have into our doors every single day. And so we have an obligation to make sure that those kids come to school safe and they leave and go home safe. And the reality is we live in a different world and a different society than we did when any of our buildings were built. Even our two newer buildings are 20 years old, Thunder Bay Junior High and Lincoln Elementary. They were never built, none of these buildings, with the ideas of that we have to have secure entries, so registered sex offenders walk in, that they can't just walk into the building, or somebody to go in and be able to steal a kid. We don't have cameras to be able to check if somebody's knocking on a door, with a gun or any of those things, that we have any ability to identify who anybody is. So we have some real needs to look at to make sure that we have the basic safety and security needs that any newer school now that's built or refurbished has across the state and across the nation, and to make sure that we can maintain those safety measures to keep our students and staff safe. We need to really look at, what do we need to do that, and how do we get the resources to be able to move forward with those important upgrades we need.
Right. Now, when you talk about resources, that means budget and everything. Are we looking at like fundraisers here? Are we looking at, how are we looking at the dollars to get this going?
So again, unfortunately, we do not get enough money to be able to make, so many of these upgrades that are needed. There hasn't been a bond issue in Alpena in, over 20 years. And so that's an element that we have to take a look at. Again, we have no ability to go to a millage, to the taxpayers for operating services, and quite frankly, the district is, doing, pretty good job of stretching every penny to make sure that we're able to, buy the buses we need and those things, but we don't have the money for capital to be able to put into, putting a new roof on or a new boiler. That's a much larger amount than we'll ever be able to get from the state. And our buildings that are at a critical point of starting to fall apart. And, we need to do masonry work. We need to be able to put in heating and, water systems, and, for bathrooms that are, the pipes are starting to deteriorate, and, and so we just have a lot of things like that to do, and we don't have the financial means to do that. So our parents and our PTOs, everybody, have done great things to, we were able to, through the grace of our parent-teacher organizations, be able to put a buzzer system on our front door, but that's only one door. You have a high school with 80 exterior doors on it. So, just looking at how do we, maybe shorten that and make that less. How do we put alarms on those systems to where if somebody's coming in? How do we put lockdown systems where other parts of the building can be closed off if there's an intruder in one section? How do we do those things? And the reality is we have to go to the taxpayers and have an ask for a bond of what that looks like. So that's a big part of this community group, is sitting and taking a look at that. And we have everybody, again, from every constituent group in our school district, and we're asking them to take a look at all this and give us what they think the priorities are and what a realistic ask is for our community. And so they'll be taking a look at that over these next 2 Mondays, November 5th and the 12th. They'll be making a recommendation to our 7-member school board, and our school board will grapple with that and make a decision on where do we go from here, and how much might we look at asking the public to be able to support these very critical needs we have to continue to have a strong and a safe school system in Alpena Public Schools.
And when you talk about strong and safe, we're going to talk a little bit and go into deeper content with that in part 2 of Insights. We'll be right back. I'm Star Connor, and I'm here with Dr. Van Wagner. Welcome back to Insights. I'm your host, Star Connor, and again, I am here with Superintendent Dr. Van Wagner of Alpena Public Schools. Now, Dr. Van Wagner, recently there was just a school shooting in my state in North Carolina, and piggybacking on safety and door precautions and stuff like that. As a superintendent, what are your concerns that we have here in Alpena area? I know we have bomb threats and, just threats, period. But what are some of your concerns as a superintendent that you're afraid of?
Well, I think that, we have all those things we worry about, and those are the things that keep me up at night, as really the chief, CEO of responsibility for almost 4,000 kids that walk through our doors every day. And so, I worry a lot of, obviously, custody issues of a parent that's not supposed to have a kid. And in so many of our buildings right now through the day or the morning, people can just walk in the front doors and be able to walk down hallways. We have no barriers. We have no doors that are locked at that point that, that restrict access to the rest of the building. If you look at any building that's been built in the last 10, 12 years or been refurbished, you will see a system in which a parent, during the school day, they have to be buzzed in the front door we have, but normally they'll walk into another set of steel doors and they have to go into the office, and they will actually have to give their driver's license, and it's ran through a scanning machine that checks to see if they're a registered sex offender or if they are somebody that is a custody issue or somebody that has been notified that is not supposed to be in the building or to gain access to a certain child. So that is something that we really feel is a critical need to have. That's a real 21st century upgrade that our school district needs. And then once a person is cleared from that, they're able to be given a name tag stating their name and how long they're supposed to be in the building and where. And then they're buzzed into another door from inside the office to the general population of the building. So it's a much more secure system versus just a person walking through the front doors and able to walk down to any classroom. The second part of that are a lot of districts are now putting in what they call boots, and what they are is they're a locking mechanism that's relatively a simple system that puts basically a steel rod system into the floor, and it allows for a door not to be opened. And so open or closed. So if there's an active shooter or something in a building, there's no way in a matter of 10 minutes without essentially knocking down a door, shooting it up. In that time, we feel like we need to have all these barriers we can to get enough time for law enforcement to be able to get on the scene. We've seen these barriers in schools that have had these type of horrific situations where they've been able to gain 2, 3, 4 minutes of multiple barriers of stopping a gunman enough for law enforcement to get there to be able to take the perpetrator out and make it to where there's no casualties. And so we're never going to build these schools into prisons, and that's really my hope. At the same time, we need to make them as safe and secure as possible. And law enforcement and that safety community have built these measures that are there of these solid core doors where that boot can be put in by the teacher, where only law enforcement has the ability to essentially remove it if the teacher at that point to open that door. Obviously alarm systems, much like fire alarms that can be pulled for an active intruder. And so we feel like those measures we really need to take a look at, and we owe it to our parents in this community that, again, bring their most precious commodity of their child to our doors every day, that when they get to school, that they stay in school and they're safe. And that includes all of our staff members as well, that we want to make sure we have a safe environment as possible to make it to where there are multiple measures to make it so law enforcement can get there to be able to help out in one of those very violent situations.
Mm-hmm. Now, how often do we practice lockdown drills here?
Essentially we have multiple drills throughout the year, but there's essentially 2 lockdown drills I believe that happen. We also have fire drills as well as tornado drills. So multiple ones are done from that that standpoint, and we're continuing to look at those and with our safety measures of what do we do in those situations, and looking at other ways to change things up, because again, as we look at all these issues, there's the idea of somebody says there's a bomb in a building, but yet they're outside with a gun. And so, we work really closely with our law enforcement. We sit with them every summer, our city chief of police, our county sheriff, as well as our state police commander, post commander. And we sit and talk about all those types of scenarios and situations, ways that we can, mitigate or change a place up. So we're actively looking at those things, but we've brought them also into the mix to give us their opinion, or what are things we should do with our buildings, to make those as safe and secure as possible. And so all of their thoughts have been put into the work that we've built so far, and we'll give the community again the opportunity to see pictures of what those things look like. And we know we have work to do to make our buildings safer And again, northern Michigan's been more of a laid back, place at that point. But the reality is we're seeing these things all over the country. And so we have a duty, again, to our parents and our community to make sure that we're looking at all those things and make it as an option to explain to our community what we need and see, the value that they put into, those ideas moving forward.
Okay. And also, what were some of the parents' concerns as they were talking to you during these meetings? I know in the Charlotte situation in North Carolina, the parents, they see the text from their child, and technology travels fast now. So say there is a situation here. Of course, your parents are gonna wanna get their child and come banging on the doors, but some of the kids were locked inside of the school.
Right.
So what are some of the concerns that parents have with that or just period in safety?
Yeah, I think that, looking at parking situations and, issues with some of our buildings that are maybe landlocked a little bit of, what can we start looking at to at least maybe work to create some emergency type drives like off of Thunder Bay. There's kind of only one way in there and one way out, and what's a way we can maybe try and work with Meyer and the DNR with the old railway, the bike trail, to see if we can create a service entrance. I think one of the big things is they would like to see, like at the high school, one main entrance and exit that can be secure. So there's not so many doors and multiple people coming in multiple places. I think, that's a big thing. And they just want us to really take a look and say, okay, get some expertise and say, what are the best ways to make this school as absolutely safe as possible? And then, with that, there are things like parking situations also. There's, so many of our buildings were never created with the idea that parents, now drive their kids to school so much more than they used to. And so we have parking issue situations and little kids almost getting hit, by cars that are coming in, trying to get around buses, and everybody trying to get in one spot, and there's not enough parking spaces. So I think, trying to look at traffic flows, those kind of things are another big issue that, they brought forth as far as facilities. And then again, the issues of, the heat being on and it's too hot sometimes or it's too cold sometimes, and what are ways that we can regulate that? Obviously looking at things such as, the access to, safe drinking water, and, do we have, fountains that allow for kids to be able to fill up water bottles and such like that, and making sure that we, don't have, old ceramics. We do water testing at everything. All of our water tests for all of our buildings have come back, negative, and so that we've had clean drinking water. I think that's an important thing they've asked that we've been doing, and we want to continue to be able to keep our facilities, at a level in which they can be, service our kids for the next 50 years. And so, again, they want to make sure that those safety, security, and those basic needs of water not leaking out of lights in the ceiling, and those kind of things, and windows that can open. So if there is an issue where kids had to get out a window, that the window actually opens and it has a handle. We have windows that are somewhat frozen shut here and there, in some older buildings. Again, buildings that were built in the 50s. And so, those are those kind of things that we need to make sure that we have the ability to make safe. And again, no glitz and glamour. We're looking at, what are the basic needs to be able to provide a great education that our kids need.
All right, so once again, we are talking to Dr. Van Wagner about school upgrades and school safety. We'll be right back with the Insights. Welcome back to Insights. I'm your host, Star Connor, and we are once again sitting here with Alpena Public Schools Superintendent, Dr. Van Wagner, and we want to get to some positive things about some upgrades coming to school and some other things about technology that you want to include, and of course, teachers. We want to worry about those a little bit too, like some changes with that. So
yeah, our students, the most important thing we can do with our students is put a great teacher in the classroom with them, and we have no want for that to ever change, but we also feel that technology is an important tool to be able to put in those teachers and students' hands to be able to move forward. So we've done some dynamic things, I think, over the last 2 years within Alpena Public Schools. Our current technical education, we've been able to expand greatly. We really believe in giving opportunity for students in the skilled trades. We feel that's a fundamental part of our region, our state, and our country. And so we've done some great things to upgrade those facilities. We've written a lot of grants and gotten some money to be able to do almost $2 million worth of upgrades over the last 2 years. Just introduced a brand new machining and engineering lab at the high school. But in doing that, it takes a lot of energy, electrical upgrades. So we need new panels and new circuits, and across all of our buildings, as we're looking at doing things such as project-based learning, so our kids in our regular content areas are learning things such as we're taking geometry and now with construction, so kids can learn angles and all their geometric shapes and those elements and how that relates to building a house. What does that look like with tile work or trusses or those kind of things? We're blending Algebra 1 with design and machining as well, and we're taking geometry and construction, as I had said. We're taking history and English and putting those together, and kids doing projects and learning hands-on and be able to demonstrate their learning, not just through a standardized test. And so a lot of that uses technology now. We've invested a lot in Chromebooks of their small laptops through help with a lot of money. The Besser Foundation has been great. The Community Foundation here of Northeast Michigan has donated money so we can have Chromebooks, and we're trying to get it to a point where we have enough technology so every kid has an opportunity in their day to be able to use those. But the reality is that when those are all plugged in, we don't have circuits that are ready to do that. So part of our upgrades are creating those 21st century learning environments that have the electrical, the wiring and stuff to be able to handle, more of these devices and those things. But it's just been exciting of what we've been able to do with that project and problem-based learning across the district in our sciences, and not just learning just to read it out of a book and it doesn't have a real-world application. But so many of our teachers are embracing this work to find ways that kids can experience hands-on. And so when a kid goes, why am I learning this? That they have the opportunity to learn in a real-world problem, be it something with the Great Lakes and Lake Huron about either invasive species or the shipwrecks or whatever that is, or the history of the area, and we're trying to blend all those things together so kids see a real relevance to their school and why it's important. So again, using that technology with it is key, and we've been fortunate to be able to do so much upgrade in those areas, but yet have so much more still to do to make sure that all of our teachers have that opportunity to be able to utilize that technology and get the training and stuff they need to be able to do that. So we're going to continue on that path relentlessly. We're very excited and appreciate our staff, all of our teachers and support staff that work with our kids to be able to do those things, and we just think that there's a lot going for the students in Alpena Public Schools.
Now, when you talk about teachers in the classrooms, have we seen a decrease or increase in people wanting to become involved in education and become a teacher?
The reality is we're in a teacher shortage situation now. We are we've been fortunate to be able to fill all of our positions, but I can tell you we've worked at it harder, I think, than the district ever has before. We go to job fairs at all the universities and colleges in the state of Michigan. We make sure that any students that are from our area, we get to them early and fast and try and get them student teaching and, in our district to see the benefits of working here. But overall, there is about a 50 to 75% somewhere in there cut in the amount of students going in education at our universities throughout the state of Michigan. We had the opportunity to visit this past 2 years Central Michigan University, who's really been a major creator of teachers through their preparation program. And last year we had more districts there from Michigan and around the country to recruit than there were students. So we were actually, a lot of them were standing and looking at each other. Some people had no candidates come to their tables at all. And so we do have issues with educators, but it's one of the most important positions in our country, and what the impact that they can make on kids' lives every day. And so we're thankful for the ones we have. We really think that they're phenomenal, but we know that we're going to have to work really hard to try and find qualified individuals for our classrooms and aides and support staff moving forward.
Where do you see the lack? When we talk about technology, of course, that's more like science and math, but history and English, what do you see the lack of here in Alpena Public Schools?
I don't really see that lack. I think that, one of the things that my philosophical approach is that a kid needs to have a well-rounded education. And so, whether they are looking at going to a college, a 4-year, or a great opportunity of Alpena Community College in a 2-year program here, including the trades, to get a technical certificate, or if they're looking at, going through one of our programs and, autos or our medical program that we have for, to become a nurse maybe eventually, or or welding or whatever those are, there are great jobs that are available right out of high school even, if they have the right certifications and the right skills to do so. So we think that, you know, having all those opportunities, and honestly, technology is a part of all of those. You don't go anymore to an auto dealer and have your car fixed without it being plugged into a computer. You know, they really are rolling computers at this point that almost drive themselves as they go down the road. So having our kids having those technical skills, or the medical field of how technology is being put into that. And welding, we have virtual welders now that kids learn on without ever turning on a hot spark, but that teaches them how to use the gas and use all those things before they even get on a welder. So, you know, in history and social studies, again, of looking at, you know, how is that, you know, taking an issue today and looking at the past, and how do you take a technology and create a presentation, such as now you can do cinematography and video, you're creating right on a Chromebook, you know, that, you know, is matching the quality of what we see here in the studio now. And so kids maybe want to go into that area, and so they're able to demonstrate that through that history and English and you know, all of our other fields that are important. So we just really believe in technology across all of those important areas for that well-rounded education.
All right. Any last words, Dr. Van Wagner?
No, just really proud of, again, all of our students and the work that our staff has put into our district. We really feel like you know, our kids have the same opportunities that kids do in a school in Metro Detroit, with the beauty and you know, the expectations of Northern Michigan. And so we're just we're excited at the opportunities to continue to talk about the safety and facility needs with the community. And we just we feel that Alpena Public Schools is a great choice for parents across our region. And we want to make sure that it's maintained, that, you know, people see us as a destination district to want to, you know, come and work and live and send their kids to, you know, from coming all over the country. So we're just excited about moving forward.
Well, hopefully we get those votes, and hopefully we get those upgrades coming soon for continuing of our safety here at Alpena Public Schools. So thank you for your time with coming to me with insights and having a moment to, you know, inform everyone on the changes going on with Alpena Public Schools.
Okay, thank you.
And once again, I'm Star Connor, your host for Insights. Until next week.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. If you have any comments, suggestions, or topics you would like to see on a future show, please email WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.